If we could all take our seats, please. If we could all take our seats. If we could have quiet in the hall, please. Mr. Witz, are you all set in your facility? If I could have quiet in the hall, please.
What did he say? Yeah, we're okay in the overflow facility.
Mrs. Pulowski, are you all set?
All set in the gym overflow facility.
Thank you. Just again, a couple of the rules. You should have a white ribbon if you're an eligible voter, and it should be visible. Just have the ribbon visible so your vote can be counted. And the time limit to speak is 5 minutes. We have a lot of business before us. Mr. Vino, on a motion to accept, to admit.
Mr. Moderator, I move to admit the following person to be admitted to town meeting, Bruce Tarr, State Senator.
We have a motion to admit. Discussion. Any discussion in either overflow facility?
No, there is not.
No, there is not.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed? It's unanimous in the main hall. Mr. Witz.
Unanimous.
Mrs. Pulowski.
Unanimous.
Article 3, Mr. Vino.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move to authorize the Department of Public Works to accept the easements on behalf of the town as specified in Article 3 as printed in the warrant.
We have the motion. Does the Board of Selectmen wish to recommend? Mr. Vino.
The Board of Selectmen recommend.
Does the Finance Committee wish to recommend? And the Finance Committee recommends it to be here. Discussion. This requires a 2/3 vote. By town charter, I can call the vote by voice if I hear a 2/3 majority. And I'll have to rely on the two... Oh. It's an accept an easement. It's lit. I stand corrected. It's a majority vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Unanimous? And the, Mr. Witz?
Unanimous.
Mrs. Pulowski?
Unanimous.
Article 4, Mr. Vino.
Mr. Moderator, I move to authorize the treasurer to enter into compensating balance agreements as specified in Article 4 as printed in the warrant.
Does the Board of Selectmen wish to recommend? Mr. Vino.
The Board of Selectmen recommend.
Does the Finance Committee wish to recommend?
Finance Committee recommend.
Discussion. Any discussion in the overflow facilities?
No, there is not.
No discussion.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed? Unanimous in the main hall. Mr. Witz?
Unanimous.
Mrs. Pulowski?
Unanimous.
Article 5, Mr. Vino.
Mr. Moderator, I move to appropriate such sum as may be allotted from the Chapter 90 appointment for the purpose of constructing, reconstructing, or maintaining roadways within the town of North Reading as specified in Article 5 as printed in the warrant.
We have the motion. Does the Board of Selectmen wish to recommend? Mr. Vino.
Board of Selectmen recommend.
Does the Finance Committee wish to recommend?
The Finance Committee recommends.
Discussion. Discussion in either overflow facility.
No, there is not.
No discussion.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed? Unanimous in the main hall. Mr. Wetz?
Unanimous.
Mrs. Polowski?
Unanimous.
Article 6. Mr. Harris?
Mr. Moderator, I move to reauthorize the Conservation Revolving Fund as voted on Article 20 Revolving Funds, Wetlands Protection at the April 1992 town meeting, in accordance with the Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, and to set the maximum expenditure for FY 2009 at $100,000, as specified in Article 6 as printed in the warrant, and that any wetland filling fees collected be deposited into said fund and expended to meet the expenses of the Conservation Commission's programs.
We have the motion. Does the Board of Selectmen wish to recommend? Mr. Harris?
Board of Selectmen recommends.
For the Finance Committee, Mr. Westerfeld?
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee recommends.
Discussion. Any discussion in either overflow facility? Mr. Wetz?
No, there is not.
Mrs. Polowski?
No discussion.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed? It's unanimous in the main hall. Mr. Wetz?
Unanimous.
Mrs. Polowski?
Unanimous.
Article 7, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Moderator, I move to reauthorize the Parks and Recreation Revolving Fund, originally authorized in Article 22 of the October 1997 town meeting, in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, and to set the maximum expenditure for FY 2009 at $237,490, as specified in Article 7 as printed in the warrant, and that any fees collected be deposited into said fund and expended to meet the expenses of the Parks and Recreation Committee's programs.
We have the motion. Does the Board of Selectmen wish to recommend? Mr. Harris?
Board of Selectmen recommends.
And the Finance Committee? Does the Finance Committee wish to recommend? There's a question? The question is from Rita Mullen, and the question is, how high can the revolving fund be? $1% of the tax levy.